Pleasant day, everyone. My topic is all about Latin American literature. So here we are going to talk those literary pieces that had been created and produced. But first, here's a brief description about Latin America. The term Latin America refers to Mexico and all countries and political units in Central and South America. In other words, Latin America, region of South America, composed different countries whose inhabitants to speak a Roman language. What is Latin American literature? Latin American literature consists of oral and written literature in several languages. It globally rose particularly prominence globally during the second half of 20th century. Latin American literature, the national literature of Spanish-speaking countries of the Western Hemisphere. Historically, it also includes the literary expression that highly developed of American Indian civilization conquered by the Spaniards. Over the years, Latin American literature has developed a rich and complex diversity of themes, forms, creative idioms, and styles. There are 6 main periods of Latin American literature. Each period has a different genres that rolled ranging from the first-person narratives, magical realism, philosophical, short stories, anti-establishment large poetry, and experimental prose. The first period of Latin American literature was the pre-Columbian literature. The pre-Columbian literature, it is primarily oral, through the Aztecs and Mayans. It is the most sophisticated and highly developed writing system in pre-Columbian Americas. The second period of Latin American literature was the colonial literature. During the colonial period, written culture was often in the hand of the church, within which context for Juana Inés de la Cruz wrote the memorable poetry and philosophical essay. The colonial period was important because it was the beginning of the written tradition in Latin American literature. Towards the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th, a distinctive Criollo literary tradition emerged, including the first novel, such as Jose Joaquin Fernandez de Lizarde's El Periquiolo Sarmiento in 1816. In 19th century Latin American literature, the 19th century was a period of foundational fictions and critic Doris Sommer's words, novels in romantic or naturalist traditions that attempted to establish a sense of national identity and which often focus on the indigenous question or the dichotomy of civilization and barbarism. The Modernismo period Latin American literature. In the late 19th century, Modernismo emerged, a poetic movement whose founding text was the Nicaraguan Rubén Darius Azul in 1888. The Venezuela Romulo Caligos wrote in Laza what came to be one of the most well-known Latin American novels in 20th century by Doña Barabas. Post-war or boom period Latin American literature. After World War III, Latin America enjoyed increasing economic prosperity, and newfound confidence also gave rise to a literary boom. From 1960 to 1967, the major works of the boom were published. The famous writer during boom period was Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The post-boom of contemporary period Latin American literature. Post-boom literature is sometimes characterized by a tendency towards irony and towards the use of popular genres. So, that is just a brief description about Latin American literature. I hope that you have learned from my topic, and that's all.